Good evening, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. This is Rich again, back for your second video blog of the day for Friday night, November 14th at 6:16 p.m. in Billerica, Massachusetts. It was a nice day out after some snowflakes, a sunny day, but very cold. The next week or so, we're going to have very chilly weather. Winter's going to come a little early in this area. Some news to report, sad news in the world of Major League Baseball. Former Major League Baseball shortstop and manager Alvin Dark passed away at the age of 92. Alvin played shortstop for about 11 years in MLB in the 40s and 50s. Later on, he became a successful manager. Prayers to his family. And it's also Happy National Guacamole Day and Happy National Girls Day and Happy Operating Room Nurse Day. And that's about it on that. My next subject is about a kind of a history lesson. And this is a history lesson for all you sports fans. I'm going to talk about the Boston Celtics dynasty from 1957 through 1969. The Boston Celtics won 11 NBA championships in a 13-year reign. This is an incredible feat, and it's even more incredible because so much talent from the Boston Celtics during this period. It was almost like every year they were in the NBA Finals or won the championship. It was like a birthright for many of the Celtics fans. And back then, there was only maybe 9 to 14 NBA teams doing the championships. So the Celtics had an easier way to win championships because they weren't 30 teams in the NBA today. And also back then the NBA was not big on the sports scene in the United States of America. It was kind of a niche sport because it didn't get any national television coverage back in the 50s and 60s because it was the big sports were Major League Baseball, NFL football, and college football. Even the college basketball was popular than the NBA. And the Celtics' first championship was 1957, and some of the players on the teams, the major players, were like Bob Cousy and Tommy Heinsohn and Frank Ramsey and Bill Sharman and Bill Russell, Sam Jones and Casey Jones. They won the first NBA championship. They defeated the St. Louis Hawks, now known as the Atlanta Hawks. They made again in 1958 the NBA Finals, but they lost to the St. Louis Hawks. From 1959 through 1966, the Boston Celtics won 8 straight world championships. They were coached during this time by Red Auerbach, who was one of the greatest coaches in NBA history. And the Celtics always won the Eastern Division. And then they would face off against the Syracuse Nationals, usually, which became the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Cincinnati Royals, which now are the Sacramento Kings in the Eastern Division Finals. And some of those were very tough series for the Celtics to play. Sometimes they went 7 games and stuff like that, and they were a bounce or two away from the streak being over. There was one thing in 1965 that the Celtics were up by 1, but the ball went out of bounds, and the Philadelphia got the ball, and they had a few seconds left, and it was an easy shot if they put the inbound pass, but Havlicek stole the ball, and that saved the Celtics dynasty and stuff like that. And also the Celtics usually beat the Lakers, Minneapolis Lakers, which became the Los Angeles Lakers, and the San Francisco Warriors and the St. Louis Hawks for the NBA championship. And these were very competitive matches, like 7-game series, which the Celtics always won. These games were not nationally televised because NBA didn't have a national television contract during this time. They were syndicated mainly to the cities that had the NBA teams and stuff, so many basketball fans didn't see these games, just the hardcore fans in the 60s and stuff. And the Boston Celtics never sold out Boston Garden during their 11 NBA championships. They had averaged around 10 to 11,000, and the capacity was 15,000 for basketball. For the NBA, Celtics hardly sold out during the championship dynasty, which is amazing considering the Boston Bruins always sold out the Garden during this time, and they were last place. They in a 16 league. Amazing, isn't it? Because the Boston's more known as a hockey town than a basketball town, but the Celtics brought Boston to become a basketball town. Red Auerbach led the Celtics to 9 championships and stuff like that. He retired after 1966. It was his last hurrah and stuff. And some of the Celtics were retiring, like Bob Cousy and Tommy Heinsohn and Bill Sharman and Frank Russo, but they were replaced by guys like John Havlicek and Don Nelson and Bailey Howard and stuff like that. And Bill Russell became the coach in 1966 during this run. He was a player coach. 1967, the Celtics made it to the Eastern Conference Division Finals, but they lost to Philadelphia 76ers. The 76ers were arguably the best NBA team of all time by many experts, and they won the NBA championship in 1967. A lot of people were writing off the Celtics that their dynasty's over and stuff like that, but they didn't count their chickens before they hatched. In 1968 and 1969, the Boston Celtics won the NBA championship, and they beat the 76ers in the Eastern Division Finals, and then they beat the Lakers in the NBA Finals in 1968. 1969 was an amazing feat because that was the last of the 11 championships the Boston Celtics won in a 13-year span. It was also Bill Russell's last year playing and coaching. The Celtics had a kind of a mediocre season, only 48 and 34. They were 4th place in the Eastern Division. Many people were saying they were going to be eliminated in the first round, but they beat the 76ers and the Knicks, and then they faced off against the Lakers. They fell 2-0 to the Lakers in the best of 7 for the NBA championship. And a lot of people were saying this is the end of the Celtics dynasty, but the Celtics came back strong, taking Game 3, 4. Then the Lakers took Game 5. The Celtics took Game 6. And Game 7, the owner of the Lakers, Jack Kent Cooke, had balloons like held in the rafters for the Lakers because he was so confident they were going to win the NBA championship, but they didn't. The Celtics proved all the experts wrong, and they won the 11th championship in 13 years in 1969, and this was the last of the Celtics dynasty of this era because Bill Russell retired, and then other players retired as well, and stuff like that. Amazing run for the Boston Celtics for the 11 championships in 13 years. It's one of the sport's most amazing feats. This feat's never going to be accomplished in any sport, in any major professional sports, because there's at least 30 teams, and all of them except the NFL, which is 32. There's also a salary cap and stuff like that. Teams don't stay around forever, like core players for years and years because of free agency. The teams aren't loyal again. Chemistry issues and stuff like that, and it's very hard for teams to rack up so many championships in a row. The Boston Celtics, in my opinion, were the greatest sports dynasty of all time. They 11 championships out of 13 years. You can't top that. The New York Yankees never did it. The Montreal Canadiens never did it. The Green Bay Packers never did it. The Boston Celtics did it in an era where it wasn't really big. Could you imagine if this was in an era like ESPN and Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that? The Boston Celtics would be the best thing ever for sports fans. It was amazing for that 11-year run and stuff like 13-year run like that. It's one of the sport's most amazing feats, and it's glad that a lot of people became Boston Celtics fans because of it for life. I was not born during this amazing run of the Boston Celtics dynasty because I was born in 1976, so 7 years after the last of the Celtics 11 championships in 13 seasons. Celtics have won 6 more NBA titles since then, like 1974, 1976, 1981, 1984, 1986, and 2008. But 11 out of 13 championships is amazing. And that's about it about that. I'll see you later on tonight for my third and final video blog, which will be about Sandy Koufax, LA Dodgers pitcher. Goodbye, everybody.